Hello and welcome everyone to SwiftUI from Scratch episode number 10. In this video I will be showcasing how you can store information to the local memory of your Apple device using the AppStorage property wrapper inside of SwiftUI. If you are enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe to see the future episodes, and also feel free to offer ideas about the next video I should make in the comment section down below. Without further ado, let's go and make some new apps. Before we start coding, let's begin with a short overview of AppStorage. This module is mainly used for permanently saving smaller size data for your application. You can save all sorts of variable types such as numbers, strings, booleans, or even arrays, objects, and dictionaries. It is meant to save small bits of information which persists even when the app is not running. The data is written to a local memory for a specific device, so if you were to open the app on another device, the data will be lost. Each device has its own dedicated memory space for app storage. However, it is not designed to hold private information such as usernames, passwords, card numbers, etc. This kind of data requires safe API structures with encryption methods for secure user experience. A specific piece of information inside of AppStorage has two properties. The information has its key, which is always a string, and it's a name of the data, and then the actual value, which can be a number, a string, a dictionary, or an array, and etc. The AppStorage is also something called a dynamic property, so whenever some value inside of AppStorage is updated, SwiftUI will automatically update your views as soon as the value of a particular key is updated. The best way to showcase the concept is, of course, with an actual example. So I have my Xcode up and running, and for this we will need the simulator. The preview doesn't work for this since we have to turn on and turn off the application. So we have to run the simulator. So right here, choose any type of device you want, and if you hit Command R, you should be able to see the simulator up and running on the right side of your screen. So for example, we will have a text view which will hold some kind of a string. So let's make a state variable since this will be changing. So state private var, and let's have our user's username and set it to an empty string by default. Now inside the body property, let's have a text field which says username, and it's bound to the username state property. So again, Command R, and I'm sorry, we're also missing the text label for the argument right here. Let's hit Command R, and you should be able to see the text field right here. So as you can probably know, you can type something in this. So let's say our username is swiftly coded, and that works as intended. However, as you might know, if we rerun the application right now, the text field is going to be completely blank. It doesn't remember our username. So that is when the AppStorage comes in play. Let's now make a new variable which can access the AppStorage. So we will introduce a brand new property wrapper which is called AppStorage, and then open up the braces. Inside of here, a string is expected. This string represents a key inside of the AppStorage. Since we don't have any kind of data inside our AppStorage yet, we can just simply make a new piece of data with a new key. So the key for this will be the username, then continue with var, and now we need some kind of a variable name for our code. So let's say saved username, and we will also say that this is an empty string. So since we don't have any type of data with the key called username inside AppStorage, the saved username will be by default set to an empty string. Later on, if we actually save something inside this variable, then after we run the application again, it will have the value which we've saved before and not the empty string anymore. Our goal is now to save the user's username, so whenever the person turns off the application and comes back later, the username will be saved inside the app storage. For this, we need some kind of an event which will trigger a function that will store this kind of data. For this, we can perhaps use a button. So first of all, we need a VStack, put the text field inside a VStack, and after this we will have the button with the action closure. So let's leave that empty. We'll say do something right here, and for the label let's specify some kind of a view. So it will just say text and basically it will say save. So now we need some kind of a function which will trigger whenever the user presses the button. So for this, the actual class is called user defaults, and after that it goes by standard library, which I will explain later on in this video. But the important part now is the function called setValue. As you can see, it has two parameters, a value which can be type of any, and a key which has to be a string. So we want to store our username from the text field, and the key will match the key inside of the app storage. So for us, it matches this guy right here, so username. So now we are all set, but we need a way to display the actual username. So maybe we can have a text above all of this which says welcome back and put the name of the user. But now it is the saved username from the app storage, and this should work as intended. So let's try running the application right now. So as you can see, it says welcome back and an empty string because we don't have anything inside our app storage yet. But let's fill out the username. So we will say swiftly coded, and now let's save it. As you can see, it appeared in the text, which is great, but the main point is that if you now run the application once again, the username will be stored inside of app storage. So we've successfully now saved the username, but let's look at how to actually remove something from the app storage, which is another very simple function. So instead of this, we will say user defaults. It's standard as well. And if you want to remove something from it, you will say removed object. And now we need a key again. So remove an object inside of app storage which has a key of username. And we could maybe say remove here. So again, if we run the application now, we should have our username saved from before. But now if you hit remove, you can see it removing. And now if we run the application again, the username is no longer saved. So this is just one of many functions inside the user defaults. There are actually tons of them, and if you want some deeper understanding about this, I would recommend to read the documentation, because I just simply cannot cover everything in one video. But the main thing is saving and removing objects inside of the app storage. I will do one more example now to save something inside of the app storage, and now this will be a Boolean value. This Boolean value will tell us whether the user likes to use dark mode inside our application or a light mode. So again, a new variable, so we will say AppStorage, and the key for us will be dark mode. Let's continue, so variable, and we can call this dark mode as well, and it will be set to false by default. So if dark mode is true, display dark mode for the user. So maybe let's now have one more button, so I will copy this right here, and instead of remove, let's have an icon from the system name library, and let's have a moon.fill, and I will just make this a little bigger so you can guys see. So system size 25, and what we want to do is toggle the dark mode from on and off whenever the user taps on the button. So a very simple thing to do is do dark mode.toggle, and we are good to go. The thing is now that we are only switching a Boolean value. We are not actually changing the UI for our user in any way. So on our VStack, which is in this case the whole application, we can use the preferred color scheme and now use a ternary operator, which is something I have not covered yet, but it is very simple. So let's have an introduction for this, and I will cover this deeply actually in the next episode. So a ternary operator says that if the dark mode is true, we want to have the dark scheme, and else use the light scheme. So this is pretty much like an if-else statement, but it can be used perhaps inside of the modifiers. So again, if dark mode is true, use dark, else use light. By toggling this and being connected inside the app storage, whenever the user relaunches the application, the mode will be saved. So let's command R this, and it should be light by default because dark mode is set to false by default. And now if I hit this moon right here, you can see it switches to dark mode. Not only that, but when I now relaunch the application, we should still be inside a dark mode. The last thing I said I would explain is what this standard inside of the user defaults mean. They have a thing called suites inside the user defaults, which basically divide the memory to some parts where you can save your information. So by default, this part of the memory is standard, but you can choose to make your own custom one, and basically some information will only be saved in this part, or rather in this suite. So first thing we need to do in our app storage, so let's say for our username, after the key you need to specify the store, and you will do user defaults. When you open up the braces, you have suite name right here, and you can make a new kind of a space where you want to store your data inside the app storage. So let's say, I don't know, user data, I guess. And the second thing we need to do is access it while calling the function inside of a button, because now we are accessing the standard suite, not the user data. So let's start once more and say user defaults, and now you have to initialize it with the suite name again. So we will say user data, And let's maybe set the value again as we had before. So we will set the value of username for key username, and we will once more say save. And this will basically have the exact same result, but it's inside of the user data suite. So now let's say I would store John here. So let's say save. So again, of course, when I relaunch the app, we will have John once again. But let's now say that I would recover this variable from the AppStorage from the standard suite. So let's remove it right here and only have the username. So now if I relaunch the app, I should not get John, and I should get some kind of a thing which was saved before that. So right here I'm setting the value for the suite name user data, but right here I'm accessing the username inside of the standard thing. So this is a very useful thing if you want to divide your data inside of the AppStorage. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching new episode of SwiftUI from scratch, where we've covered how to use the AppStorage. I hope you've learned something new, and as always, be sure to give me some feedback in the comment section, and also like the video and subscribe. And I'll see you in episode number 11, where we will be looking at ternary operators and much more inside of SwiftUI. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.